Andrew Holmes has been a familiar face in Chicago for years, well known for his work as a community activist helping crime victims and police. But now Holmes is being accused of a crime himself, sexual assault, in a civil lawsuit filed by a former employee of the village of Dalton and a Dalton police officer.
The Fall of Holmes and Henyard, a satirical look at a tragic farce. In a turn of events that feels ripped straight from the pages of a dark comedy. Charges have been filed against Andrew Holmes for sexual assault, marking a new chapter in a saga that has captivated and horrified the public in equal measure. The allegations, as absurdly vile as they are, paint a picture of a man who, under the guise of a familial bond, allegedly exploited a coworker during a trip to Vegas. The audacity of Holmes, recorded discussing the assault and flaunting video evidence, with the nonchalance of a B-list celebrity caught in a scandal, would be laughable if it weren't so deeply repugnant. Now, in a moment of satirical reflection, I find myself torn between disbelief and a perverse sense of satisfaction. I can't stand Andrew Holmes, I declare, channeling the collective disdain of a community betrayed. That's disgusting, I add, my words dripping with the venom of sarcasm, only to catch myself. My bad. My feelings got into it. I backtrack with mock contrition, acknowledging the absurdity of personal feelings in the face of such grotesque revelations. The young lady, beacon of resilience amidst this sordid tale, deserves more than the dismissive silence she received from those in power. For a year, Mayor Henyard, more concerned with preserving her own reputation than addressing the grievous harm inflicted upon an innocent, chose the path of silence. In satire, we say, I can't stand Mayor Henyard for this. I muse. My words a scathing indictment of a leadership that prioritizes image over integrity. The filing of lawsuits against Holmes and Henyard is a development I've awaited with bated breath. A necessary step towards cleansing the Augean stables of Dalton's political landscape. This will be the fastest way to get rid of these two, proclaim, with a sardonic smile. My confidence in their imminent resignation, not just a hope, but a near certainty. They will resign in the next 7 days. I guarantee this, I assert. My prediction as much a wish as it is a reflection of the inevitable consequence of their actions. In this satirical lament, we find a sliver of truth in the absurd. A reminder that justice, though often delayed, is inexorably served. As we mock the downfall of Holmes and Henyard, let us not forget the real tragedy at its core: a breach of trust and a violation of decency. In the end, satire provides a lens through which we can examine the follies of the powerful, a tool to hold them accountable, and perhaps, a way to heal through laughter in the face of adversity.
A well-known activist.
Tonight, our Dane Placco off the top with the bombshell details in a brand new lawsuit.
Andrew Holmes has been a familiar face in Chicago for years, well known for his work as a community activist helping crime victims and police. But now Holmes is being accused of a crime himself, sexual assault, in a civil lawsuit filed by a former employee of the village of Dalton and a Dalton police officer. In addition to his work as a community activist, Holmes serves as a trustee for the village of Dalton. The civil lawsuit against the village of Dalton, Thornton Township, Tiffanyhhenyard, and Holmes himself alleges that Holmes sexually assaulted a Dalton village employee, who we're not naming because of the nature of the alleged crime, while on a village business trip to Las Vegas in May of 2023. According to the lawsuit, the employee had drinks with Holmes, whom she thought of as an uncle, began to feel disoriented, then passed out in Holmes' hotel room. The lawsuit alleges Holmes then called Dalton police officer Byron Miles, who was on the trip as part of Mayor Tiffanyhhenyard's security detail. According to the lawsuit, quote, Holmes began describing a host of his exploits from the trip, many of a sexual nature, to Officer Miles. At some point during his rant, Trustee Holmes made reference to him engaging in sexual activities with a Dalton Thornton employee, and there was some suggestion that the employee may not have had the ability to consent and or did not provide consent. The lawsuit says Officer Miles then began recording the phone call and FaceTimed Holmes. Trustee Holmes then panned the camera toward the bed where Officer Miles could see a woman who was partially undressed. The trustee then moved the camera to various private areas of the woman's body, displaying them on screen, and at times moving or removing articles of clothing as he transmitted the images. The lawsuit alleges when the woman woke up, she couldn't remember anything that happened the night before and was not aware of the alleged assault until informed by Officer Miles when they returned to Dalton. Quoting the lawsuit, at some point during that time, Trustee Holmes was in communication with Officer Miles, and again Trustee Holmes made reference to his exploits in Las Vegas. Trustee Holmes further advised Officer Miles at that time that he had unprotected sex with the female employee while in Las Vegas. The lawsuit alleges that when the officer told the woman what happened, she requested to speak to Mayor Henyard, who was allegedly concerned it could hurt her politically. The lawsuit says Henyard then advised the employee that if the information got out, Henyard would be ruined and all of the work she had done would be lost. Despite assurances that Henyard and then Henyard's boyfriend would handle the situation, the lawsuit alleges the female employee was eventually fired by the Village of Dalton. Officer Miles still works for Dalton, but alleges his duties were diminished and he faced retaliation at work. We spoke briefly to Holmes this afternoon by phone, who said he had no response at this time. Not to these allegations. I'm not bothered by it. Las Vegas police have reportedly opened an investigation into the accusations against Holmes. On Monday, the 4 Dalton trustees, in opposition to Henyard, hired former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot to conduct an investigation into allegations of corruption in Dalton, including what happened on that trip to Las Vegas. Now, in January, the plaintiffs filed a claim with the Illinois Department of Human Rights outlining the same allegations. That claim has now been withdrawn with the filing of this lawsuit. So far, we've not received any response from Henyard or the Village of Dalton. Dane Placco, Fox 32, Chicago.
Suburban Dalton, Mayor Tiffany Henyard's former assistant and a Dalton police officer have both filed a civil lawsuit against the mayor and trustee Andrew Holmes. Much of that lawsuit centered on what allegedly happened on a business trip to Las Vegas last May. NBC5's Regina Waldrop has spent 6 months trying to track down this story. She has a closer look at the new complaint.
Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard, trustee Andrew Holmes, both now the focus of a civil lawsuit.
Everybody that's named in this lawsuit should resign from their position immediately.
The lawsuit was filed by 2 people, Henyard's former assistant and Dalton police officer Byron Miles. It accuses Holmes of assault and battery and Henyard of retaliation. The incidents allegedly occurred during and after an economic development trip to Las Vegas last May. On that trip, Henyard and a handful of Village and Thornton Township reps, including her former assistant and trustee Holmes. NBC is choosing not to name the woman. According to the complaint, the woman felt disoriented, lightheaded, and ultimately blacked out after dinner with Holmes. She woke up in the trustee's bedroom, physically uncomfortable and with no memory of how she got there. The complaint details a conversation between she and Officer Byron Miles when they returned from Las Vegas. A member of Mayor Henyard's security detail at the time, Officer Miles, in the complaint informed the woman that the trustee told him he had unprotected sex with her in Vegas. Officer Miles advised the woman to seek medical care. According to the complaint, when the woman met with Henyard to tell her about what allegedly happened, Henyard told her if the information got out, she would be ruined and all the work she'd done would be lost. She then claims Henyard told her that she would take care of it and that the woman should trust her. The woman claims she was later put on unpaid medical leave and later terminated. Miles claims he was removed from the mayor's security detail and returned to patrol duty and faced a number of retaliatory actions later on for coming forward as a witness to what he believed was either sexual harassment, exploitation of a woman. An attorney for Holmes told us he has no comment on the lawsuit. At Monday night's Village Board meeting, 4 Dalton trustees appointed Lori Lightfoot, Chicago's former mayor and a former federal prosecutor, as a special investigator to look into the Vegas trip and other allegations being made against the mayor.
At the conclusion of this investigation, I will provide an assessment of the findings and the recommendations, and I welcome and urge the full cooperation by Mayor Henyard, her staff, all Village trustees.
The Village told us in a statement it's imperative that any third-party counsel hired by trustees fully comply with legislative ordinance standards. At this stage, they do not meet these standards. Both the woman and Officer Miles have filed complaints with the Illinois Department of Human Rights. According to the lawsuit, they are seeking back pay, front pay, punitive damages,